ओके जी, ग्लिसरोफॉस्फोलिपिड से शुरू करते हैं। We are going to start. Basically, what glycerophospholipids are. Glycerophospholipids are also called phosphoglycerides or glycerophosphatides. Um, they are mixed esters that are found almost entirely in lipid components of biological membranes. Basically, glycerophospholipids जो हैं, they are also called phosphoglycerides or glycerophosphatides. They are an important part of biological membranes. Most importantly, they form part of biological membranes. They basically consist of two fatty acids that is attached through ester linkage to the first and second carbon of glycerol. Glycerophospholipids जो हैं, they consist of two fatty acids that is attached through ester linkage to the first and second carbon of glycerol. A highly polar or charged group is attached through a phosphodiester linkage to the third carbon. एक highly polar और charged group जो है वो generally attach होता है to the third carbon. तो बेसिकली ग्लिसरॉल जो है उसकी तीन कार्बन एटम्स हैं। उसमें दो के साथ जो है वो फैटी एसिड अटैच होंगे और जो थर्ड कार्बन है उसमें there will be a polar or charged group that will be attached, and it will be attached through a phosphodiester linkage. Before we move on towards the details, let me show you the structure. This is basically the structure of glycerophospholipid. अभी जो हमने बात की है, this is the structure of glycerophospholipid. अभी हमने कहा कि basically कार्बन नंबर 1 और कार्बन नंबर 2 पे जो है ये है जी ग्लिसरॉल, जिसके कार्बन नंबर 1 पे फैटी एसिड अटैच होगा, that is being represented with R1, and कार्बन नंबर 2 पे दूसरा फैटी एसिड अटैच होगा, that is being represented with R2, and this X represent where the polar group has to be attached. This is the phosphodiester linkage, and this is the third carbon where the polar head group has to be attached. So R1 first carbon pe by and large mostly it's the saturated fatty acid that is attached, and at the carbon number 2 mostly it's the unsaturated fatty acid that is attached. And obviously, as we said, X represent the polar head group, whatsoever head group जो है that is going to be attached over there. So ये जो भी हमने ये बात की है कि they consist of, I hope you now understand that two fatty acids that are attached in ester linkage to the first and second carbon of glycerol, whereas a highly polar or charged group is attached through a phosphodiester linkage to the third carbon. ठीक है, glycerophospholipids are the prevalent lipids in non-photosynthetic organisms. जो नॉन फोटोसिंथेटिक ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं उसमें ग्लिसरोफॉस्फोलिपिड्स जो है दे आर द prevalent lipids, the most prevalent important आप कह सकते हैं. They are characterized by a phosphatidic acid backbone. Glycerophospholipids are the most abundant phospholipids. They are found in highest amount in all cell in membranes of all cells, and are present in very small quantities in fat stores. Primarily, they are found in highest amounts in the membranes of all cells, and they are present in very small quantities in fat stores. Glycerophospholipids also participate in cell signaling systems, and they also serve as an anchor for proteins in cell membranes, because we said earlier that glycerophospholipids जो हैं, they form an important part of cell membrane. In plants, approximately one third of the organic phosphorus, plants के केस में approximately one third of the organic phosphorus is found in glycerophospholipids. They also interact with triglycerides and cholesterol to increase their solubility in the blood. So, in short, हम ये भी कह सकते हैं कि if you are being asked that what are the functions of glycerophospholipids, so you can write some of these properties or functions of glycerophospholipids, that the first one, as we said, they participate in cell signaling system. The second one you can write as an anchor for proteins in cell membranes. The third one is they interact with triglycerides and cholesterol and increase their solubility in the blood. The fourth one is that plants uses them to obtain one third of the organic phosphorus. And the most important one is that they form the part of the cellular membrane. ग्लिसरोफॉस्फोलिपिड्स जो है इनको हम कैटेगराइज करते हैं, वी प्लेस देम into the following classes. The first one is known as phosphatidylcholine, or most commonly known as lecithin. The second one is known as phosphatidylethanolamine, or most commonly known as cephalins. Phosphatides containing other constituents: plasmalogen, phosphatidylserine, phosphatidylinositol, phosphatidylglycerol, and cardiolipin. These are approximately, I guess, 3, 6, 8 somewhat classes हम बोलते हैं. Basically, ये हम division कर रहे हैं या ये categorize कर रहे हैं on the basis of the head group that is going to attach at carbon number 3 of glycerol. ये जो हम नेमिंग कर रहे हैं, क्लासिफिकेशन कर रहे हैं या कैटेगराइज कर रहे हैं, ये हम कर रहे हैं on the basis of the polar head group that is going to attach at the third carbon of glycerol. Glycerophospholipids are named as derivatives of the parent compound phosphatidic acid, according to the polar alcohol in the head group. Glycerophospholipids जो हैं इनको नेम हम करते हैं as derivatives of the parent compound phosphatidic acid according to the polar alcohol in the head group. इसको मैं अभी आपको further explain करती हूँ by showing the structure. Phosphatidylcholine and phosphatidylethanolamine have choline and ethanolamine in their head groups. Similarly, phosphatidylinositol and phosphatidylserine, they have inositol and serine in their head groups. In all of these compounds, the head group is joined to glycerol through a phosphodiester bond in which the phosphate group bears a negative charge at neutral pH. ये हमने भी स्ट्रक्चर की हम बात कर रहे हैं, ठीक है. इसमें हमने कहा कि अगर ये जो X है इसकी जगह पर H अटैच होगा, then it is known as a phosphatidic एसिड जिसको हम कह रहे हैं कि जी दैट इज द पेरेंट कंपाउंड of glycerophospholipid. If this X is replaced with H, then it is known as phosphatidic acid. Similarly, हमने कहा phosphatidylcholine choline choline जो है वो अगेन थर्ड कार्बन पे यहाँ पे अटैच होगी. एथेनोलामीन है that will be attached over here. If it is serine, inositol, or whatsoever group that is being attached, the polar head group on the basis of which we are classifying or we are categorizing the glycerophospholipid, that will be attached over here. ठीक है. और उसकी बेसिस पे हम नेमिंग कर रहे हैं, उसकी बेसिस पे जो करेक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं ऑफ ग्लिसरोफॉस्फोलिपिड्स वो वेरी कर रहे हैं. ठीक है. So now you can understand this thing that we were talking about कि अगर एथेनोलामीन है, कोलिन है, इनोसिटोल है and serine है in their head groups, so because of that we are naming them respectively. ठीक है. और हमने ये बात की है कि in all of these compounds the head group is joined to glycerol through a phosphodiester bond in which the phosphate group that bears a negative charge at neutral pH. The simplest glycerophospholipids in which X is replaced by H are phosphatidic acid, as I told you earlier. कि अगर वो जो पोलर हेड ग्रुप है जिसको हम X से रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं, अगर वहां पे सिंपली सिर्फ H अटैच होगा तो उस केस में हम उसको बोलेंगे फॉस्फेटिडिक एसिड. मींस कार्बन नंबर 1 पे एक सैचुरेटेड फैटी एसिड अटैच होगा, कार्बन नंबर 2 पे अनसैचुरेटेड फैटी एसिड अटैच होगा, और जो तीसरा कार्बन है ग्लिसरॉल का जहाँ पे पोलर हेड ग्रुप है अटैच होना है, वहां पे सिर्फ अगर H अटैच होगा तो इसको हम बोलते हैं जी फॉस्फेटिडिक एसिड. Phosphatidic acid जो है they are derivatives of glycerol phosphate, and most frequently they contain glycerophospholipids basically are derivatives of glycerol phosphate, and they most frequently contain a nitrogenous base. They are present only in small amounts in biological membranes, and they play an important role as an intermediate in the biosynthesis of other phosphoglycerides. In glycerophospholipids that commonly occur in biological membranes, the head groups are derived from polar alcohol. अभी हमने दिखाया कि कार्बन नंबर 1 पे सैचुरेटेड फैटी एसिड जो है वो अटैच होगा. जनरली द सैचुरेटेड फैटी एसिड दैट इज अटैच्ड एट कार्बन नंबर 1 that will have a chain length of approximately 16 to 18 carbon, whereas at position number 2 where an unsaturated fatty acid is attached, that will have fatty acid that will ranges in chain length from 16 to 20 carbon fatty acid. So जो saturated fatty acid होगा वो most by and large हम बात कर रहे हैं carbon number 1 पे जो attach होगा that will have a chain length of 16 to 18, and जो second carbon पे attach होगा unsaturated fatty acid that will have a chain length that ranges from 16 to 20 carbon. Glycerophospholipids are, of course, named according to the identities of these fatty acid residues, as we named according to the identities of the fatty acid residues. ये हमने अभी structure of glycerophospholipid that we have discussed earlier. If we do complete hydrolysis of phosphatidic acid, it will yield one molecule of glycerol, one of phosphoric acid, and two molecules of fatty acids. So on complete hydrolysis of phosphatidic acid, it is going to yield one molecule each of glycerol, one of phosphoric acid, and two molecules of fatty acid. So now we are going to see one by one the classes of glycerophospholipids. The first one is phosphatidylcholine and most commonly known as lecithins. Lecithins or phosphatidylcholine that describes a group of compounds that are glycerol esters of fatty acid molecules and esterified at its third carbon atom with phosphoric acid, which is in turn bound by ester linkage to a nitrogenous base choline. So इसको हम simple words में इस तरह से describe कर सकते हैं that they are a group of compounds that are glycerol esters of fatty acid molecules. थर्ड जो कार्बन एटम है उस पे एक नाइट्रोजनस बेस अटैच होगी थ्रू एन एस्टर लिंकेज दैट इज कोलीन. ठीक है, थर्ड कार्बन पे इन आइदर केस it is esterified with phosphoric acid, and obviously this phosphoric acid is further attached to a nitrogenous base through an ester linkage, and that nitrogenous base is choline. Lecithin is a fat that is essential in the cells of the body. Lecithin in its pure state, they are solid waxy substances which turns brown upon exposure to light and air due to auto-oxidation and decomposition. So physical appearance जो है lecithins की, that is a solid waxy substance which can undergo rancidity if they are exposed to air or light, and as we discussed earlier, density is basically the phenomena of auto-oxidation and decomposition, and because of that, they will changes their color. Lecithins are soluble in all fat solvents except acetone. They are hygroscopic. अभी हमने कहा कि they are soluble in all fat solvents except acetone. So they are otherwise not soluble in acetone, but they are hygroscopic and they mix well with water to form cloudy colloidal solutions. And from this solution, they can be precipitated out with the help of acetone. So otherwise, once they form a colloidal solution, from this colloidal solution, if we want to precipitate lecithins, we can precipitate them out with the help of acetone. This is the structure of lecithin or phosphatidylcholine. This is the carbon number 1, where saturated fatty acid is attacked, being represented with R1. R2 represents the unsaturated fatty acid. This is the phosphoric acid, and through phosphodiester linkage or through an ester linkage, this nitrogenous base is attached, that is basically choline. Okay, so this is the structure of phosphatidylcholine. This is the nitrogenous base choline that is attached at the third carbon of glycerol, and because of that we call it as phosphatidylcholine or lecithin. Lecithins don't have a definite melting point, and they decompose when they are heated. एक सेकंड जी, जी सॉरी, हम बात करते हैं कि लेसिथिन्स जो हैं दे डोंट हैव डेफिनेट मेल्टिंग पॉइंट एंड दे कैन lecithins can be found in many foods. Natural sources of lecithins जो है उसमें है soya beans, wheat germ, sunflower oil, liver and egg yolk. These are the natural sources of lecithins. Lecithin can also be obtained from canola, cottonseed, or animal fat. If we do complete hydrolysis, on complete hydrolysis, they will yield choline, phosphoric acid, glycerol, and two molecules of fatty acid. Complete hydrolysis of lecithin is going to yield choline, phosphoric acid, glycerol, and two molecules of fatty acid. Lecithin is also taken as a medicine and it is also used in the manufacturing of medicine. So lecithin itself can be taken as in the form of a supplement, in the form of a medicine, and it is also used in manufacturing other medicines. Uh, Lecithin can be used for treating memory disorders such as dementia and Alzheimer's disease. It is also used for treating gallbladder disease, liver disease, certain type of depression, high cholesterol, anxiety, and a skin disease that is called eczema. Lecithin is available in the form of a pill, in the form of tablet, capsule, soft gel, granules. There are no guidelines available for the appropriate use of lecithin, although many manufacturers they endorse a daily dose of 2400 milligram in case of adults. Body जो है आपकी that uses lecithin in the metabolic process and to move fats. Lecithins जो हैं वो they are turned into choline in the body, and this choline that is being converted in the body that is further used to make the neurotransmitter that is acetylcholine. Lecithin is not only taken as a supplement, but it is also used in the manufacture of eye drops, skin moisturizers, and food emulsifiers. Food emulsifiers means the agents that keep ingredients from separating. ठीक है जी, this was that was all about phosphatidylcholine or lecithin. The second one we are going to start, or we will be starting, that is cephalins, or also known as phosphatidylethanolamin. The most common name is cephalins. This is the structure of cephalins. Like earlier, as we discussed before, the first carbon that have fatty acid R1 and R2 that basically represent uh, lipids. This one is a glycerol phosphate group, and this one is the ethanolamine. So because of the presence of this ethanolamine group, it is known as phosphatidylethanolamin, or most commonly known as cephalin. ठीक है. Cephalins are structurally identical with lecithin, as you can see, except that the base choline is replaced by ethanolamine. ठीक है. Cephalins जो हैं वो structurally identical होते हैं lecithins के साथ. The only difference is that the base choline is replaced by एथेनोलामीन। इसको हम कंटिन्यू करेंगे यहीं से कल।